Welcome back to another edition of Post Media's Ottawa Senators panel. I'm Ken Warren with Bruce Garriock and special guest Wayne Scanlon, longtime readers of the Ottawa Citizen. Quite familiar with Wayne. Wayne's still doing contributor with Sportsnet. Glad to have you here. We're going through the what's left of the season, and we were talking about it before here. What's left to be played for? A dozen games left as we speak here. What's left for the Senators to play for here?
Well, there's a lot that's left to play for because there's a lot of young people looking for jobs for next year. I mean, these are professional players. They want to get situated. They've also got a team down in Belleville that's looks like it's got potential for a little playoff run. So you've got to decide about maybe sending some of the young players down there to get some playoff experience. So I'd say there's quite a bit, despite the fact that there's no chance for a playoff opportunity for Ottawa this year.
Okay, we'll get to that Belleville thing in a moment. Bruce, one thing that's here is the interim head coach, Mark Crawford. What can he do? I mean, it's a depleted lineup. Let's face it, they're not very good. Players are, like we say, there's guys auditioning for jobs next year. What does Mark Crawford have to do here to get a look for next year?
Well, one of the things I think we've seen that wasn't happening under the old head coach, Guy Boucher, was some accountability. We saw it Saturday night in Boston with his comments after the game about how they gave that game away and they had nobody to blame but themselves for that loss after being they were in that game in third period. They played for them a great third period against a very good team. Up until after the second period, they kind of relied on Anderson. The other thing we saw was when Michael Boddicker made that, I don't know what was going on, and gave away the puck, was it 3 times on that one shift in Philadelphia?
It was atrocious.
Yeah, so he gives away the puck 3 times on that one shift in Philadelphia and then plays 3 or 4 minutes the rest of the game. Look, it's far too late for Mark Crawford to try and ingrain what he wants to in this team because there was no accountability for how many ever games Guy Boucher coached this season. But at least there's a little bit of accountability going on down the stretch, and I think that's something they can at least build off of.
The one thing that the players remaining here, at least on defense, are talking about is they like the regular rotation of 6 defensemen. They're seeing regular shifts. If they make a mistake, they get a little bit of a leash. But again, if it's like a Mikhail Bodker, he got stapled to the bench as he should have after that mistake. And that to me is a bit of an issue here. Is you've got veterans here with contracts. How are they leading? This word accountability that's thrown around. Well, how do you make these veterans accountable when they're still here under contracts and you're trying to teach the right way for the young guys? We talked about Crawford and what he's got left. Poor Craig Anderson at this point. I mean, this guy's lost 13 games in a row as we get ready for this week. 13 games in a row, and he hasn't been great, but he's deserved a little bit better, hasn't he, Wayne?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's got to get a break somewhere along the way. They're losing a lot of 1-goal games, or losing by 2 with an empty netter. He's had a little bit of bad luck, and I think there's just so many mistakes around him. This is a very depleted roster since losing the 3 big guns at the trade deadline, and there's just continues to be mistakes made in front of him, and he's paying the price.
Well, one of the things I think, though, Wayne, is that at the start of the season, I thought Craig Anderson was their best player.
Absolutely.
I really think of late he's looked 37 years old, and I think that one of the things that I personally, and I don't think they're going to do this, Ken, I personally would like to see them just go rotation in the last 12 games. Now, I asked Mark Crawford about this on the weekend. He said no, that they were going to play Nilsson because of his contract situation. They do need to get a look at him. But I at this juncture say, I think we saw Guy Boucher do it last year. Just rotate the goalies at this point. Let them both play. You've got 12 games left that are virtually meaningless except for evaluation. Let them play and see where they go. And I think one of the things they're concerned about, though, Ken, is they want Anderson to feel good about himself going into the offseason.
Well, yeah. Okay, so you mentioned Nielsen. Who knows what's going to happen there? You also got this Mike Condon situation, whether he can ever get back to health. He's under contract for next year. The one thing, if you're going to look...
Can I just add one thing there?
Sure.
Just on Condon. I did ask about him on the weekend, and it was interesting because Mark Crawford basically said Belleville would have to get into May for him to even stand a chance of playing, that he had another setback. I think it's a hip injury.
Okay.
Sorry about that, but just to update.
But if they get to May... Marcus Högberg is going to be the guy, and that's, you know what? Hey, let's spin what we can here in the sense that there are some good things, and we'll get into this in Belleville. Marcus Högberg's been very, very good running the table here for Belleville as they're in a playoff spot at this point, and that does create some hope. Logan Brown, Drake Batherson, Nick Paul, you know, the guy who's been up and down, we're never sure. These guys have been outstanding of late. And they're in a playoff position. This could create a little bit of excitement about, you know, not so much this year, but next year, Wayne.
No, it's very exciting. I mean, let's all move down to Belleville and watch these guys because that's where the excitement is. I mean, that one line that you just mentioned there is on fire. They pumped the Marlies the other day, which is a big win in Toronto. I think it's great because there has to be something to look forward to. If not the youth in a rebuild, then what, right? So it's exciting what's going on down there.
Well, Kenny, wasn't the year that Ottawa missed the playoffs when they traded Chris
2011.
Kelly?
2011.
Didn't they? Wasn't that the year they won the Calder Cup in Belleville?
They did.
Or
And Zach Smith went
Binghamton,
down.
pardon
Zach
me.
Smith went down. You had Mark Borowiecki was on that team. Jared Cowan, that brings back bad memories, but no, they had some young prospects in that team that helped carry them. So this year, I think there's even more younger type of prospects that are leading that team. So that's positive. Speaking about newcomers or guys that may be part of this, just the other day they started Max Veronneau. What do we know about Veronneau? I don't know a lot other than good numbers in Princeton. Wayne, you know a little bit about his background?
Not a lot. He played some Central Junior here. I believe it was with Gloucester. Just typical of the good young players they produce in that sort of Ottawa and the Valley League. And I know that one line for Princeton, I don't think Princeton is all that competitive this year. They haven't had the greatest program, but Ryan Kuffner is a local guy that attended the Senators development camp, and he set a career goal scoring record with Princeton. So, and he just got signed with Detroit. So it's interesting that these are line mates. Both got signed by two rebuilding franchises in the Detroit Red Wings and the Ottawa Senators.
And Kuffner, I recall, has some history with the Senators way back. He's got families who played with the team. But, there's nothing to lose with these signings, right?
No. Well, I mean, why not take a chance with Max Veronneau? Why not see what he can do in the last 12 games of the regular season, if in fact he plays 12 games in the season? One of the things I think that probably attracted him to Ottawa, not only because it's his hometown, is the fact that he's going to get the opportunity to burn a year on his contract and get to play a dozen games. There were a lot of teams. I spoke to a scout about him yesterday, and there were a lot of teams after Veronneau, 25-plus teams. I think Pierre Dorion got the opportunity to see him on the weekend in the ECAC tournament when they were eliminated. So I think if you look at the situation they're in, why not take a chance on him and see where he is next year?
Yeah, and I think of these guys, like people sometimes think of them as prospects or kids. Well, they're not kids anymore. They're 23. I mean, so for him, if he wants to get a foot in the NHL, quicker the better, because you're not in that prospect. He's the same age as Anthony Duclair, who's been with 5 NHL teams. So these guys are it's a fast track for them. Before we wrap up, I think we should talk a little bit about the major season ticket blitz. Probably the most difficult job in Ottawa these days for Nick Ruskowski, trying to sell something positive and future. Heard back. I like the fact he said that they have to take accountability for things. Whether they're going to do that or not, I mean, they've got to make changes here.
There's no question. I don't know what you can say to fans to appease them anymore. I think they want to see some action as opposed to just promises and maybe 20% discount on merchandise at the rink and that type of thing. Some are getting discounts on tickets. I read one season ticket holder said her tickets, she's got 4 tickets and has had them for 10 years. Her price actually went up a little bit. But, I think they want to see perhaps an interesting signing this summer, a really good coach hire. I think those things are the foundation of a rebuild, not so much what they might say to fans in a season ticket blitz.
I think the opportunity for them now is to step back a little. I think what we're probably going to see, I would suggest probably see more town halls, Ken. That they are having a conference call with their season ticket holders, Nick Ruskowski and Pierre Dorion, on Thursday, exclusive to season ticket holders only. They're trying to give some value to their season ticket holders. They've got a tough sell ahead of them because they're selling hope. and the only thing they can hope is that the fans buy into that.
Well, yeah, no, I know, and I know. Just before we wrap up, Ruskowski talked about the casual buyers are being up. Well, that's because our time's running out right here, so we're going to wrap this up. Our casual buyers are up, but that's because a lot of the season ticket holders have declined on their commitment to it because there are empty seats.
Exactly.
But hey, one idea: why not throw some buses and send some fans down to Belleville to see these kids, because that's what the future's going to be. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks, special guest Wayne, once again.
Nice to be here.
Bruce and I will be back next week with another panel on the Ottawa Senators. Thank you.